I try to practice being in the moment every day. My strategies, I think it's from having children made me realize that life is really just a collection of moments. And as my kids are teenagers now, I feel like time is flying by. And so that's made me concentrate more on the moments I still have ahead. And so my strategy is reminding myself of that. Even if it's a bad day, it's like, okay, remember this is just a moment and more will come. Definitely the benefit is that it helps me live my life with a feeling of positivity. And that is really important to me because there's so much in life around us that isn't positive, and by being present in the moment or focusing on the moment, I can stay with the positive things.
Yes, I practice being in the moment. It's taken me a lot of practice to learn how to do that. Some of it comes from my educational background. In my educational post-secondary schooling was in recreation and community development. So some of the classes that I've taken over the years, leadership classes and classes on supporting community or individuals, whatnot, they had to do with being present and being in the moment. Some of it also had to do with my karate training, my martial arts training, where a lot of it in martial arts and in karate is about forgetting sort of the excess that's happening around you and focusing on what's happening right now. It usually starts from the external, from your teacher, your mentor. It's like a correction, could be a correction on how you stand, your posture. So a very physical technique correction. And then as you start to correct those techniques, it starts to go internal on your mindset, everything from your attitude to your breathing, to how you are in relation to your environment. So that's just come over for me almost 30 years of martial arts training. I can't pinpoint one exact moment where it was like, oh, aha, now I'm in the moment. I think it's just, I'm at a point where I am in my training where I find myself focusing on the moment. I won't say I'm completely perfect at it. It's still a constant work in progress, but I do catch myself at times having to listen to an instruction, say if I'm at my teacher's school or I'm at a seminar or a camp, and I'm reflecting on what the teacher or the instructor or the presenter is offering and how that relates to what I'm doing and in my practice. So for me, being in the moment is a big deal.
It's a hard one to really be able to do it constantly. I have learned to appreciate and to be more in the moment when I do some meditation. Meditation has been a big practice in helping me with a lot of situations. I have to take a moment to, when I'm in a really good place that I want to forever treasure in my mind and in my heart, that's exactly when I make those pauses, and I think that yes, this is something I wanna have as a remember for the rest of my life. So that's one of the things where I'm like, okay, you have to take in the moment and appreciate what you're doing at this time. And yes,
I don't think about it, but I do. I very much enjoy living in the moment. I've recently started to analyze what it means to live in the moment, even though I've always done it. There's pros and cons to it. Yeah, the cons are, well, I'll start with the cons first. The cons are you kind of lose some of the more like the organization, because you're always in the moment. You don't look too far in the future and too far in the past. But then that's always a good thing because it makes you happy. And I think that's very important, because if you look too far in the future, when you're in a bad place, it gives you anxiety. And if you look too far in the past, when you're in a bad place, it gives you depression. So yeah, it's just how I've always lived. And yeah, after I met so many people in university, I realized the other two extremes exist, and I'm very happy that I've always been in the moment. Yeah, there's pros and cons, and I'm happy with, or I'm glad that I am this way.
Yes, I have a kind of memory that I use with myself sometimes. When I feel that I need to be more present than I am in a certain situation. So, for example, when I'm leading something with, like, I'm a music teacher, so when I'm teaching music for kids, for a group of kids, and I think that I'm losing like their attention, I'm losing the grip of the moment, I have some memories that I can bring back, and they help me to be fully present. Other example, when I am with my kids and I get distracted with my cell phone, for example, and I feel that I'm not with them, sometimes I talk to myself, and I think about these memories too. Some memories that I created, and they are mine, and they can bring me back, you know, to be with them. In my first language, which is Portuguese, present, the word present has two meanings. I don't know if English is the same, but you can be present, but you also can give a present to someone. You can give. We call presente.
I do. I deliberately try to do that. That's something that is a bit of a challenge for me, because I'm a quick processor. I am used to multitasking and doing many, many things at one time. So the whole practice of being in the moment is something that I really work on with kids, as part of a way of working on it with me too. Part of what makes me struggle in terms of being in the moment is you could get caught up in the busyness of life, and I'm a big person with the to-do list, and if you're on number 1 and you're thinking about number 5, you never actually get the opportunity to enjoy the space and place that you're in. And for me, in my work as a principal, the real joy comes with being with kids and spending time in those conversations. And the pieces of joy aren't necessarily the things on the to-do list, you know, of things to get done. So I think, you know, whether it's working with kids or working with adults or being with friends or family, it's giving them the time that you're focusing on each other and really enjoying that time together.
Yes, I try very hard to practice being in the moment. I have a meditation practice that I'm building. It's very early. I definitely have a mindfulness practice. I try to integrate moments of stopping and being mindful throughout my day. And in the times that I've practiced well, in the better days, I have definitely very much felt the benefits of being in the moment. There are different ways to look at being in the moment. For me, one practice I have is a practice called savoring, and it comes from a psychologist called Rick Hansen. And he talks about savoring, and this is focused on the good moments. So it's like, your first cup of coffee in the morning, or something's very simple, the way it feels when you slide into the sheets at night. One of the things I like is to see my daughter's face light up, And in good moments like this, I try to consciously pause and savor and just let how good it feels sink in. And the reason for that is I think that we spend so much of our day just focusing on the negative and not enough on the positive, and it's become that we almost have to consciously hold on to the positive. So I found that being able to remind myself to pause when things are good and to really feel how it feels when things are good, that can really help to shift my impression of what a day feels like it's either a crappy day or a good day. But if I stop enough to savor and enjoy those good moments, then it becomes a good day.
I think the biggest challenge is that I notice a lot of people don't live their life that way. There's so many people that aren't in the moment or missing the moments. And I find that frustrating sometimes because that can lead to some negativity. And I find it's challenging because sometimes it tries to draw you in. And so I have to be very extra conscious then to not let it do that to me and focus on my moments.
For me, being in the moment is a big deal because of, or at least focusing on being present, because of my role as a karate instructor, a karate student, my role at work as a coordinator in my position, to even being a father. My daughter is 3 years old and she's got a long life ahead of her, and so it's easy for me to think as a parent, in 10 years and 15 years when she's 18 and 30 years when she's an adult doing her own thing. I have to always grab that and stop myself and go, wait a second, what about right now? It's every day is an experience, and time is constantly moving. So when I know that the clock is constantly ticking, it then helps me stop and go, I'm gonna enjoy this moment now, because tomorrow is always gonna come. So it's not allowing myself to get too far ahead. A lot of it is, I recall a saying, I don't know if I read it or someone said it, that today is a present, so it's a gift. That's why it's called the present, this moment right now. So I know I do actually try to be in the moment, especially when I start to drift off into the future with my ideas, or sometimes it's the opposite if I'm criticizing myself on something. Could be work related, could be personally related, could be in my martial arts training where I'm like, I should have done it better. A lot of the times it's kind of having to, again, stop, refocus, and then be present in the moment, and that understanding, again, future will always come. The past is already the past, but I'm not saying I let go of the past. It's more about reflecting on what happened, on how I could make a change now, and then how do I view myself, not necessarily tomorrow, because that's still kind of far, but maybe in the next second, maybe in an hour. It just depends, obviously, on the circumstances of how I'm going to invest my time. But a lot of it still is encompassed by what is happening in this present moment.
Sometimes with life, it's very hard to constantly be in the moment. You're always constantly either thinking about the future or about the past. But being in the moment it's something that helps me just appreciate everything that I do have, and something I experience or a moment that I'm really enjoying, and that's something I tend to enjoy more, and try to be more present. I mean, it has happened to me quite a bit when you get anxiety problems, and you start to get more anxious, and that's something where your mind will wander off. But then I have to think about, like, yes, that's part of my life, just being anxious sometimes for just being too stressed or relationship problems. So I have to take a moment and step back.
I don't think it's too challenging for me because it's just a part of my personality. Yeah, I don't try to be in the moment. Like, I do give advice to the people who need to be more in the moment, to live in the moment, but I don't really know what to tell them, even though I'm just like, I don't know what to tell them to help them achieve it, because it's just natural, I guess. Yeah, I do wish more people could. Then it will bring more happiness to more people.
Developing a kind of awareness about how can I achieve this idea of being fully present in moments that are important for you or for the ones you care about. It's really important for everyone. There are some forces that surrounds us, they kind of pushes ourselves in a way that we are not present. So during our lifetime, we have to develop strategies and other ways to really experience things, to experience being with the ones you care about, be with yourself. And I think, like, cell phones and computers and social media are a big distraction for us, and unfortunately they are taking our time. And I try not to spend so much time with it, although it's important to find sources and channels and things that are relevant for your life. A strategy that I use is try to reduce and really select what I'm gonna see. This is the first thing, like, to be present in the moment and to not be like dragged into the kind of like unstoppable flowing of information that you can't really deal with. The second strategy that I use is, it took me a long time in my life to really start selecting people that I will interact. Like, I am a person that talks to everyone. I really talk to everyone. But I took some time in my life to really understand that, like, develop more deep connections. It's important for you to choose people that you are going to be in contact with that really respect your way, really respect who you are, and don't like demand you to be someone that you are not. So when, like, back in my 20 years old, I was like, I tried to impress people a lot, and I tried to be accepted in groups and have some relations with people that didn't like me in the way I am. So it took me like almost 20 years to understand that. And this is important, to be present, because it takes a lot of energy to be someone that you are not, to fake your emotions, you know. And this, like, this takes you away from the present, from what you were living. So that's a second strategy.
And I think the challenge is always time, right? That whole notion of all of the things that we need to get done within a day. So part of the biggest challenge is actually being able to prioritize what matters most in the day. So my friends all tease me because I talk about seeking out joy every day. And realistically, when you seek out joy, usually you're seeking out interactions with people. And it's the conversations that you're having, or it's that connection with nature. You know, for me, I grew up in Vancouver. I grew up right by Jericho Beach, and the water and the mountains have always been part of that place that are happy memories and contemplative times. So for me, spending time, whether it's by the beach or whether it's in nature, where you're just taking that opportunity to breathe and to slow down and actually notice the beauty that's around you. And it's an easy thing in Vancouver because we're surrounded by a lot of beauty. But one of the things that I really encourage every school that I go to, you know, whether it's one garden plot or a big garden like this, it's encouraging kids to stop and noticing the bugs in the garden. And noticing, like, you know, I came into the garden and we were just about to do all of the weeding and, you know, this notion of putting the garden beds to bed for the winter. And we were fortunate enough to have Laurie Snyder come through and go, but you know what? That's food for the birds and that's habitat for the birds. Well, it's a totally different way of looking at the garden and a totally different way of noticing how many birds are coming. You know, what are the other things that are being included in your life? And that whole notion of finding calm in nature, you know, there's a reason there. They talk about forest bathing in Japan and the importance of for Wild About Vancouver of just getting outside and experiencing nature and experiencing activity around you. It brings a calm, and we know from all of those practices that even when you slow down your breathing, because you've hit that place of calm, that your body is sending messages to your brain to slow down. So that kind of piece, when you do the slowing down, I think that's when you get the real opportunity to just experience joy in the people around you and the nature around you and the things that you're doing.
For me, I'm a very sensory person, so the way I practice is, for example, if I'm cleaning dishes and I'm listening to the kids argue with each other and I'm starting to get mad because they're not behaving like the well-behaved people I always think they should behave, I stop and I feel the water on my hands. I feel the soapiness in my hands, and then that helps me tune into my breath, and I feel myself taking a breath in, a breath out, and I just drop in, like. But it's not something that I think is easy or intuitive to do. I've worked on this over 2 years, and this is something that, like a little tool that I'm able to reach for now. But I think a really important piece is to see what your hook could be. For me, it's sensory. I like the feel of things. For one of my daughters, it's auditory. Like for her, listening to sounds helps her calm down. Listening to the furthest sound can help her pay attention to the moments. And then there's always the breath, right? Like we're always breathing, and just the act of feeling yourself breathe in and breathe out, that can often help.
Definitely, I feel lighter.
Being awake, not awaken, it's going to happen, and not I've awoke, it's being awake.
It's more being in peace with yourself and with anything that's going on in your life.
Free.
I feel complete, I feel whole, like myself. That's it.
That would be joy.
Calm, I think, is what I'm feeling.
It's not easy to embrace the present moment all the times, but practicing it is the way to stop overthinking, whether it is worrying about the future or regretting things happened in the past, or both. As Eckhart Tolle said it well, you are never fully here because you are always busy trying to get elsewhere. Would love to hear techniques that works for you. DM me here if you're interested to share them with me and the world.